Hey guys, it is me, the Emerald Sword, and welcome back to another video, where today I will be reviewing Children of Dune by Frank Herbert Freewall. So, Children of Dune is the third book in Frank Herbert's Dune series, out of 6. So that means I'm halfway through Frank Herbert's original run of Dune. And I'm gonna be honest, Children of Dune is the weirdest one so far. Like, it's really odd, and I'll explain why. So, of course, in the last book, at the end of Dune Messiah, we know that Paul walked off into the desert and died. So, instead of focusing on Paul this time around, it focuses on his twin children, Leto 2 and Ganima. So, yeah, those are his twins, and, they're just your standard 9-year-olds with knowledge of thousands of years of people living inside of them. Yeah, so similar to Aaliyah, they, I guess, had a preborn thing, which is like transferring the consciousness of like thousands of people before you were born. So you're born with like thousands of people's knowledge and stuff. It's really weird. But anyway, so yeah, they're similar to Aaliyah in that way. But speaking of Aaliyah, she is now the Regency, the Empress, I guess you could say. She's like Paul's Empress Regent thing, because Paul is, of course, dead, so Aaliyah had to take over. And she's starting to get a little power hungry, if you know what I mean. But anyway, there's this preacher guy that comes along to Arrakeen, which is the city of Arrakis. And he's like, preaching stuff, your standard preacher. But people have a suspicion that it's actually Paul come back from the dead, or just come back from the desert or something. We'll get to that a little bit later. But anyway, Aaliyah's like having some power struggle problems, and she's now turning into this thing labeled Abomination, because the late Emperor Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, the villain from the first book, is living inside her head and kind of controlling her and stuff. So she's kind of starting to go a little crazy because of that. Meanwhile, this place called House Carino, which is run by Arulon's sister, Winsikia, I'm going to say, and her son Faradin, they want to take over House Atreides and Arrakis and stuff and all that. So anyway, the book is basically Leto and Ganima trying to stop House Carino. House Carino is trying to stop House Atreides from ruling Arrakis. And then Aaliyah's trying to balance her power and stuff. But anyway, here's where stuff gets really weird. So around the middle of the book, or towards the end of it, I should say, Leto and Ganima venture out into the desert. But Leto does this thing where, like, changes Ganima's memories to where she'll think that he was killed in action. So then she's going to go off and be sad and mourn him and stuff. But anyway, he's going to go to this mythical Fremen Siege place. But stuff doesn't quite go that way. He ends up getting like sand trout, which is like, the larval form of sandworms. He gets like sand trout put all over his skin. And so like changes his skin, it changes him. He's changing it and it changes him. So he's like becoming a sandworm, right? Yeah. He's becoming a sandworm. And that is really weird. Anyway, he can like control sandworms and stuff. But anyway, so meanwhile, how's Arrakis doing? Well, Arrakis has actually been changing in the 9 years since Paul died. Oh yeah, it's been 9 years, by the way. I guess I forgot to say that. But anyway, so Paul's been dead for 9 years, and Arrakis has been kind of gradually getting colder. Like, you know what terraforming is? It's when they change a planet to be more like Earth. Yeah, so they've been like terraforming Arrakis, and then it's getting a little colder each time, I guess. So the Fremen don't really have to wear still suits anymore. But Leto, because he's turning into a sandworm, he doesn't really like the fact that Arrakis is being terraformed. So what he does is he just goes around on his sandworms and stuff and just destroys a bunch of water strongholds. And so, yeah, that's kind of what he's doing. Meanwhile, Duncan Idaho, he's still married to Aaliyah, but he provoked Stilgar into killing him so that Stilgar and Ganima would go into hiding or something. I don't exactly remember, so please forgive me for that. But anyway, so Duncan Idaho gets killed for the second time. I don't think he's going to be back this time. But anyway, Stilgar takes Ganima and they go. And then while Leto's being a sandworm and stuff, he comes across the preacher himself. and it's revealed that the preacher is Paul Atreides. Hey, so Paul didn't die. Yeah, that's random, but okay, I guess that's happening. Anyway, I guess Paul's reason is like he wanted to die, but then he realized that he was being deified too much, so he wanted to change that, I think. I don't know, Dune is really complicated, so please bear with me. Anyway, so all that stuff is going on at the same time, and then for the final fight, Prince Farad'n, who is Onsikia's son, he's about to be crowned or whatever as emperor or something. So then there's like this giant final fight. Leto returns to Ghanima, restores her memory, so now she's cool. Paul's doing his own thing, and then he dies by getting stabbed once, and then he falls over and dies. Pretty lame way for a hero to go out, if you ask me. And anyway, Aaliyah's finally realizing that the Baron is like taking over her mind, so she struggles with him, and then she falls off of a terrace, I think. She falls off of something, and then falls to the floor, splats, and dies. So that's the end of Aaliyah and Paul. And of course, Lady Jessica, she's like, well, dang it, both my babies are dead. Oh well. So anyway, in the wrap-up, of course, Leto is emperor because he's still alive. Farad'n, Leto marries Ghanima, which is his twin sister, so that's really weird, but that's royal stuff. But since he cannot reproduce due to the, sand trout taking over his body and he's becoming a sandworm, he'll be emperor and Ghanima's husband. But Farad'n, similar to Arulon, he'll be the one... okay, wait a minute. So, Ghanima and Leto are married, but Farad'n and Ghanima will have the children. That's it. I'm sorry that I got so confused on you guys. Anyway, so that's kind of the main plot. And then, of course, Leto, because he's a sandworm, he's like, I'll probably live for like a couple thousand more years until the sandworm fully takes over me and kills me. And then, yeah, so that's the end of the book. Isn't that a little weird to you? I mean, part about becoming a sandworm, it's like, that's already weird enough. And then it establishes that Paul is actually still alive and not dead. It like has all this weird stuff happen, and then I did not know what the message of this book was until I had to look it up shortly before I recorded this video. But the message of the book is about how power is controlling and it corrupts people and stuff, and it's like a power struggle. And now that I think about it, that makes perfect sense. I'm actually kind of embarrassed that I didn't pick up on that for some reason. But anyway, so yeah, this book is weird. It's about power and how power corrupts people. And it's a really weird book. And I'm going to say I didn't like it as much as I liked the first two, but it's still an entertaining book. It's still a fine read. It's not the longest Dune book ever, so if you read about 100 pages a day like I do, you'll finish in about 5 days. But yeah, so it's a really weird book, and because the next book is called God Emperor of Doom, focusing on Leto like 1500 years later or something, or like 1500 years later as like a sandworm god thing. I'm sure it's going to get even weirder than this, but I'll just have to find that out. But anyway, that about wraps up the video. Children of Dune is a very weird book, but I'd recommend it if you are a fan of Dune. If you like the first two, you'll probably like this one just as much. Maybe a little less, but also maybe a little more. But anyway, that about wraps it up for this video. I appreciate you guys for watching this video. And be sure to like the video if you like the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. But anyway, that about does it here. I have been Ben from the Emerald Sword, and I will see you guys next time.